keep eating your dinner. There's still a lot of food, so keep helping yourselves. But we'll just go around, just do an introduction for anybody who's new watching the task force. So I'm Leonard McLaren. I'm the interim director.
I'm Joyce Ye, Director of Budget.
Yolanda Mendoza, Chief HR Officer.
Carol Higa, Program Coordinator for Special Education.
Don Short, parent.
Pam Mallon, Teacher Specialist, Special Ed Department.
Mary Brandenburg, parent.
Tony Brandenburg, parent.
Carol Locke, teacher.
Jean Vianogel, teacher.
Allie Schulte, I'm sorry, special ed teacher. Sorry about that.
Just not.
Right in your face.
Sharon Leffler, principal at Webster School.
Warren Skidmore, CAC member and parent.
Louise Bell, parent.
Ruth Ann All, Slippa at Sierra Madre Elementary.
Judy McKinley, special ed instructional assistant at Field.
Jim Albanese, principal, Focus Point Academy.
Okay, pretty much I know Mr. Costello, he gave me a call. He's running a little bit late, so he'll be here. So pretty much of the basically the process for tonight is just to go over, Sharon has some stuff about how developing on SMART objectives as a template. And then right after that, we'll break up into our different subgroups in our work group. So that's pretty much kind of the evening for tonight.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Are we all full? I am so grateful for having had food. I don't think I've ever been so grateful for food after work. Tonight, my role with you is going to be absolutely minimal. You know, the work gets handed off to you immediately. But what I wanted to do, just to help to provide some support and some guidance through the evening, I always try to, and my goal is, I can't say always, sometimes, you know, you fall short, but my intentions are good. My goal for the evening was to provide a document, a template, a sample for you with regards to the development of SMART objectives in order to give you just something to, you know, use as just a reference and a guide for, are we on the right track? Am I doing this appropriately? And so there was I worked with ROP a few years ago, and we were doing a strategic planning process, and we were developing SMART objectives around career tech ed. So if you'll go to the handout that I gave you, the one that actually has the title SMART Objectives Template, and you'll see, as I said, it's meant to help you define the goals and objectives of your subcommittee. The template is meant to walk you through the process of developing the specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time-based objectives. And once you've created the objectives of your committee, then you start thinking about the activities that are needed to accomplish those goals. So this goal specifically was referencing a particular career tech ed pathway and an underrepresented group. So the question, there was actually a question regarding my phrase, not so smart objective. It's not that there's no one who isn't smart. It's that I encourage people to brainstorm and not be constrained by trying to make something fit the format immediately, but to give you an opportunity to just get it out of you, put it on paper, and then walk it through the process. And once you've done that, you'll end up at the bottom with a SMART objective. So in this case, the not so smart objective was, you know, we want to recruit from historically black colleges and other minority institutions. Great, it's a wonderful objective. But as a SMART objective, it doesn't really fit the bill. So what was specific about it? The objective, inform minority students about the field of public health informatics and recruit them to join as professionals. And where's the measurable aspect? Number of minority institutions where recruitment activities are implemented, so that means, we're going to reach out to more. Number of new minority individuals who attend the Public Health Informatics Network Conference. And then what's achievable? Is the task feasible? Yes, when we connect to the training initiatives of national partner organizations. What makes it realistic? Are the sufficient resources available? Not at the local or state level, no time or resources to commit to this activity, and so you want to reach out to national organizations. And time bound, what are the start and end dates? So the goal for this area was 1 year, 08, 09. And so out of that, the SMART objective became, from August 2008 to 2009, establish recruitment initiatives at historically Black colleges and other minority institutions in conjunction with the training initiatives of national partner organizations. And so again, you start with an objective up top that it's great intention, but it doesn't really fit the bill for developing a plan from. And you end up at the bottom by walking through the process with a little more detail, and once you have that, you can start actually developing action plans associated with how do we accomplish this particular goal. Any questions about it? Any? Well.
So in this example, I'm looking at your empty templates that we got the other day on Google Docs. The not so smart objective is akin to the recommendation, something kind of vague, and then we work through the smart objectives, the smart steps. The next column on your sheet is objective. That's the smart objective. So we go from a kind of a vague recommendation to a very clear objective in the two columns 2 and 3 on your sheet.
Yeah.
Okay.
It could even begin with the subcommittee needing to kind of take the recommendation and restate it just to make it easier for you to work with. But of course, the documented recommendation on that template that I provided for you on Saturday would be the actual recommendation from the actual audit. But however your subcommittee needs to frame it in order to begin your work, I certainly want you to do that. Louise.
Excuse me. You were going to add an additional column to the SMART objective template, the one you handed out Saturday. I think it was going to be resources.
Mm-hmm.
Did you send that out already?
Yes.
Okay, sorry.
It's okay. It's okay. You may have looked at the previous version that had been posted. Yes.
Just as a clarification, did I hear you say that the not-so-smart objective would be the original recommendation?
It can be.
Okay.
It can be the original recommendation. It can be that the subcommittee needed to restate the original recommendation in order to, the language of some of the recommendations, it may be a little awkward, but nonetheless, that's the premise that you begin with. Yes. Anyone else? Okay. Well, the work that we did on Saturday was to bring the subcommittees down from 11 to 6. I've already been approached by a person letting me know that, I really am on too many subcommittees. So one of our goals for tonight was to identify and for each subcommittee to communicate to me who their subcommittee lead was going to be. And so far, I've received one. Perhaps once the subcommittees are together, you'll be able to kind of negotiate that amongst yourselves. But that is pretty much all that I have for you. It was worth driving for the pizza. to be honest. My work here is done. So at this point, we've got 6 subcommittees, and the only thing that really is left up to me at this moment is to maybe designate some areas for you all to find to communicate with one another. And then you sit down and start working on those objectives. Good evening, Mr. Costello. We're glad you could join us. We know that traffic was a challenge. So we have administrative, qualified staffing, and recruitment. Who's a part of that that's here? Okay, well, it looks like it's you two meeting this evening. I'm sorry, 3? 4? Okay.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to just very quickly give the subcommittees numbers because that will help us with referencing for tonight. So we have 1 being the administration subcommittee, 2 being the collaboration subcommittee, 3 being professional development. If you don't have your chart, it's okay. Just write down your number and your subcommittee. 4, every student, every school. 5, compliance and monitoring. And 6, transition extended school year. It's part of it. Yeah. You're welcome. So one way that I thought to approach, how many of you here are a member of one subcommittee? How many here are part of 2 subcommittees? 3 subcommittees? Okay. Okay. You might want to look at where you really want to put which one you actually want to be a part of, Judy. You might. It doesn't mean that the other groups will not welcome your input, but I haven't worked out that cloning process yet. And if you have, let us all know. Sharon. That was professional development. Yes.
And I'm going to pull myself out of a couple of these subgroups.
Okay.
And, I'm just trying to, I'm trying to determine. I don't believe that my participation in compliance and monitoring would be helpful for the group.
Okay. Okay. And Mary, will you remove yourself from that one as well?
I don't think I was on that one.
I put you where Tony is, yeah.
Oh, you put us in there?
Yeah.
And,
I kept the family together.
I think we're going to both work on 2 and 4.
2 and 4?
And I think that on professional development, I think it's close enough to me. I'm comfortable enough with. Again, this is going to, these recommendations would feed into where professional development goes. So I think that it's doesn't. Yeah. So I think that would be more productive for us to stay in the collaboration curriculum and for us to step out from professional development.
Okay.
Because I brought I can suggest some resources and some ideas for.
And again, I want to remind everyone that please, every group is open to hearing and receiving resource information. We are all one team here. And so with us being one team, we want to make certain that each has the best possible opportunity to receive the best possible resources. So if you have some information, but it's not specifically the subcommittee you're on, send it to the members of that subcommittee. We have to support one another. We absolutely do.
Right, and they were like EDI. One was the EDI, a relatively local group that outside group that does EDI. So it might be something that the district would be interested in, or hire a consultant from this group or something. But I'll just give you the name of the group, and they should take a look at it.
That sounds good. Thank you. All right. Yes, I'm sorry.
I will take my name off of the collaboration curriculum. And
Okay. All right. Yes. Okay. Admin. Jean. Okay.
I know we're just talking about names, but we're getting a reminder to make sure you turn on your mics.
Say it again.
Oh, do I have to say it again?
It would be helpful.
Oh, okay. Take me off the admin.
Okay. All right. Jim.
Please take me off of pre-K.
Is that on collaborating?
It's now under transition, I'm sorry.
See you there.
You're not there.
You're not there. You're at pre-K at the
Please.
top.
He's the phantom member.
Good job.
Thank you, Jim. Ruth Ann and then Sharon.
I was just going to respectfully request that Carol stay on collaboration because you're the only not Carol, I'm sorry, Jean. You're the only gen ed teacher on the committee at this point, and I think you're, no, understandable. You can't be on 6, but I would suggest that you try to stay on collaboration.
Well, the representation is important.
I was going to second that, not to speak for anybody, but I was also going to make the recommendation for Judy to stay on collaboration because she's from that stakeholder group, she's the one person that I see that's on that group.
You know, why don't we, I'm going to ask everyone, think about where you are. Take a look, scan the names of the people that are there, and determine if you are the sole representation for a particular stakeholder group. Then let's take that into consideration. Or, again, remember that we're all going to be able to provide input in some way. Sharon.
Could you add me to 4 and 6, please?
4 and 6. And what is your last name, Sharon?
Lefler, Leffler.
4 and 6. I'm sorry, how do you spell your first name?
I think it's important for Jean to be on the transition also because she is the regular ed person here who actually deals with special ed in doing transition. I know we tried to get more people, but
well, Jean, you are also on. You're also on professional development, if you'd like to step away from that one and then provide your input for professional development indirectly. How do you feel about that? I don't want to put you on the spot, even though I am.
I think she should do what she needs to do.
Yeah, we want you to be in the subcommittee that you feel passionate about.
Okay, I'm on the professional development and transition because it's a personal involvement. I received not professional development for what I'm doing this year, and I would like to see it happen in the future.
Okay.
And I don't see transition happening for my students, my babies going on, and I would like to see it happen.
Okay.
That's why I'm there. I passionate is, I mean, maybe that's pushing it, but it's there.
Well, there should be a level of
see
interest there.
Like
And
he
you
said.
can see the point of everyone else. You can see the point that
Well,
others are
well.
making, but we don't want to overextend you. We are very, very happy that you're here, and I think that a subcommittee would be able to work with you to receive input. Again, that was the whole purpose for creating the Google Docs, so that you could look at the progress that other subcommittees are making and send email to them to make contributions. So because you are not physically sitting in the circle having the conversation does not mean a person is not a part of the conversation. Ruth Ann, and then Louise.
Yeah, that vein of adding gen ed teachers, Alvin Nash, I believe is his name, is the union rep, and he was on our campus today. And I just buttonholed him and said, you know, is there anything that you can do to advocate for gen ed teachers to be a part of this special ed task force? And he has mentioned sending out bulletins. I know Carol's been instrumental in soliciting assistance as well. But I'm just wondering, sometimes we all think, oh, somebody else will do it when we get those, you know, solicitations. But perhaps with a personal invitation, it might be if we have a teacher, a gen ed teacher. So if all of us, and he was very open to that. He said that if any of us had names, if we wanted to talk certainly to the teacher first and then to let him know, and then he could help, you know, support it. But he's aware of the need for general ed representation on this task force.
Okay. I'm going to ask Leonard to put one more thing on your plate. If you could reach out to Mr. Nash and.
I can do that. I can do that.
Thank you.
The reason why they're not coming is because they want to be paid.
That is correct.
And that's correct. That's what I've been told. I know,
Yeah.
and they've requested it. I've been in contact with them since the committee started, and the answer is no, we don't pay for committees.
Right. Well, I know the conversation I had with two of the teachers that were on our site, on Sierra Madre site, was Saturday was a problem, and I said there are Wednesday meetings, and not everybody's always coming, but, you know, everybody has opportunity to build in,
You know,
so.
if I could, if we can, the three of us can talk offline and see if we can't create an opportunity in another way for the gen ed teachers to make their contribution. We're all being, you remember on Saturday? We're focusing, we're being creative, and so we may need to be a little more creative with the way we communicate with them. So it might mean, you know, doing something slightly differently in order to gain their participation. Yes.
For clarification, Judy was saying she wanted to come off of transition, but isn't that part of, you said you would stay in the extended school year, but that's all part of the same committee.
They're the same subcommittee.
So, and also, I understand what the concerns of everyone here is about being spread too thin on too many committees, because at this point, we're not even looking at the documentation that we've requested that we're going to have to review and factor in when we're going through everything else, and we're assuming we're going to have all of those documents on Saturday, and that's going to be a heavy lift, to go through all of that.
If we're following the instructions that we laid out, the documents will be available at the time that, you know, they're absolutely needed. That is actually another point that I wanted to make about the development of your SMART objectives. Some of your objectives can actually be, the subcommittee reviews this particular document by this date. That way it's built into the plan. That review is documented and it becomes a part of your action plan. So there's a number of different ways to approach getting what you need at the time that you need. My concern is first and foremost ensuring that we all have what we need. Secondly is ensuring that the subcommittee, when completing the template that I provided you, the big one, that the subcommittee is understanding and in agreement. This is the document we're requesting. And you have some thought about how we're going to use it so that we don't request more, quite honestly, than is absolutely needed. Yeah. I mean, I am involved in a process in my own professional life where we are going through recommendations and creating SMART objectives too. It's a process very similar to this. And I am that person that's putting everything together to make certain that everyone has it. And and I promise you, it's not as fast as even I would like for it to be. So, but because I know what people are requesting and I have dates for when they need it by, it becomes very helpful because it helps me to prioritize what I need to get out now, what I've got a few days to do, that kind of thing. So just be cognizant of that as you're filling out your templates.
In looking at this at about 5 o'clock this morning, it did appear that possibly, because a lot of people are on more than one committee, that possibly it might be advantageous to take one meeting for each one of these subjects and to actually have everybody participating in it, because a lot of people are on more than one committee. That, as I said, at 5 o'clock this morning, that seemed very logical.
Anyone else? Well, let's see where we are tonight. Who's a member of Group 1? Okay, let's put your hands down. Who's part of Subcommittee 2?
What are the names of?
I'm sorry. Yeah, that's collaboration, curriculum, classroom, etc. Representatives for Subcommittee 3, professional development. Okay. Subcommittee 4, every student, every school. All right. Compliance and monitoring. Okay. And then transition, pre-K through exit, extended school year. Okay. Well, it's going to be a challenge this evening, but how many of you actually began the process of developing some SMART objectives on your own? Sort of. Okay, okay. First question, are there any questions about the process at this point? Are there any questions about the process at this point? Good. Secondly, what do you think of the idea of taking it one area at a time and then perhaps allowing the subcommittee to take those and refine those objectives? Okay. I need to see approval, consensus, agreement.
Yes, that's a good one.
Okay, thank you. It heads bobbing, yes. This is going to be a bit of a challenge because, yeah, I heard the comments, a lot of people, and generally I prefer not to have objectives develop in such a large group. So here's what we do. We compromise. We're a large group, but we're going to break into smaller groups in order to focus on that initial area of administration, qualified staffing, and recruitment. Is that okay? Are we okay with that?
Can I ask one question?
Yes.
Can I ask one question? So there seems, not obviously, professional development is a very large committee. A lot of people rose their hands. So,
Well, actually, it's collaboration curriculum. That's the large one.
oh yes, I'm sorry. Collaboration curriculum. Thank you. See, not obvious. Can everybody in that group raise their hand one more time? And keep them raised. So we're never going to get all these people in the same room again. So my question is, wait, keep your hands up, please. So of the people who are raising their hands, who is on Group 1? Is anybody on Group 1? Okay.
You needed to handle.
I'm sorry. So who of the people on collaboration curriculum, who's on Group 1?
My wife is.
Judy, okay,
Laura.
just Judy. Who's on professional development? Okay, Judy and Jim. Who's on every student, every school, and Carol? Every student, every school. Okay. Who's on compliance and monitoring?
Again.
Okay, a lot of overlap. And transition and ESY? Okay. So I would throw out the suggestion that maybe collaboration and curriculum take the advantage of this now. And with Judy, all due respect to Judy, if the others on group one meet, since there's not a lot of overlap, and then Judy can come in, at least that way we'll be covering two things right now.
I'm in agreement with that. I support that. Anyone else? Okay. Judy, I see you're reaching for your mic.
Yeah, I'm just concerned that a lot of the folks that have kind of walked in and out of this door and are important players in making decisions at the district are not here. It's kind of like we have a revolving door with administration, and I'm not so sure that that's good for this whole process. That was it.
Okay, I hear you. I do hear what you're saying, but again, one of the things we know is that everyone is not going to be here, which is why we created a virtual environment, and they still receive all the information. Mr. Costello, your idea, I like it. So, we're looking at tonight administration, which would be subcommittee 1, and then subcommittee 2. All right, so the collaboration folks, it's a pretty good group of you. Can we use the conference room down the hall? Oh, children. Okay.
So we could probably.
What happens with the other groups?
What are the other groups doing? I don't know, are you in group 1 or group 2?
I'm in group 6. So,
I don't know then.
That's better because there's too many files on this.
We'll take it. The representation is absolutely appreciated. Okay.
And then
So,
I'm sorry.
We actually have a person who can fill 2 roles. Now, mind you, it is important that when you are working with the subcommittee, that you...
Change my hat.
Yes. That's it. It's very much like, walking in. When I used to walk into my son's school, I would always have to remove my name badge because as soon as people saw who my employer was, they stopped treating me like a parent. So. Yes. Yes, Mike.
And then trying to maximize the time we have together.
Sidebars.
Trying to maximize the time we have together, I would suggest that we have a check-in point at some point that you determine, and we see whether those 2 groups feel that they're at a point where we can break and try to tackle 2 others, or whether we still need to stay tonight with the same ones.
I was actually thinking an hour. An hour. Actually, check-in point would be 45 minutes, and that would give the next group another 45 minutes. Okay, so professional development, I keep saying that. Administration is a small group. There's a room Leonard is making available. Collaboration, you guys can just stay here. Collaboration, curriculum, classroom, evidence-based assessments, etc. We'll stay here. However, we do need to change your configuration slightly. I apologize to the video people. So, Group 1, administration, qualified staffing and recruitment would be over there. Warren.
Some people aren't in group 1 or group 2.
No. You're not in group 1 or group 2.
I am, but some people aren't in either group.
Who is not in either 1 or 2? Louise, you are?
I'm in group 6.
Okay, transition. Are either of you in transition? Okay, well, we've got 3 groups that can meet tonight. Transition, our 3rd group can meet tonight. Why don't you all just come on over here? Collaboration comes over here, and administration will go over there. We'll follow Leonard.
So when you say transition, come over here, you mean?
This side of the room. This side of the room. Create a circle, however you need to be able to communicate with one another.
she does have to fill out a letter of
Last week
intent.
we
Oh, is that
shared about
online?
a
Uh-huh.
software
Oh, okay, so she's.
that
No, it's not
was
online. She
used-
submits
that
them
was
online.
used where you
Oh.
work
And then she just puts it, she's a PUSD
that
employee. and
kept
that's-
track
that's it.
of
Oh.
professional
Thank
development.
you.
Or
That's on EdJoin, right?
last week you had shared, and the reason I want to bring this up to you is that I'm very, very interested in this software, and I'm wondering if when your committee breaks up, if they could take a look at that, because this would be a very, very good way to find teachers who need specific training, and also to locate resources within the district that may be able to provide support in specific areas.
It was, I believed it was Adobe Connect that they used, which is an out-of-the-box software program.
But that requires customization.
But it requires customization. It was
There-
something that was done by the county office when I worked there. But it would be something I can suggest. I can act as a liaison for that committee.
Or it could just, there's a number of products that are really, really good that are out there. I would recommend making that one of the objectives
Would be to search and
research
find one
Right.
that
the
fits
software
the
to
needs.
track
Right.
Because
professional
I'm not in a
development.
committee right now.
Well, see, for example, you discussed G-tube feedings.
Yeah.
You wouldn't know it, but I'm trained in that. You wouldn't know it, so is she. So, I mean, these are the things that people where I work don't realize that if the necessity came up, it takes all of 5 minutes for me to step in and take on a
But it's
responsibility like that.
You're saying one of the objectives should be
To find
a tool
our
to
resources,
identify
right.
who those people
It's
are.
very helpful when a new school year starts.
Right.
And you can go online and see what training your staff have had.
Right.
And what training they need.
Right.
Yeah,
That's
there's
what it's really useful for.
There are a number of really good software packages out there specifically designed for tracking professional development. And the customization required would mean putting in your data and your professional development plan for the year, and also whatever professional development has already taken place. So basically, every person would fill out kind of a survey or a data sheet.
Mm-hmm.
That information would be input,
Put in.
and you're off and running.
It's just, it seems like would be very helpful.
That's one that I can find out, because
I just think that
that would be
there
my
are ways
workforce and
to
organization development hat.
the talents that we could have.
Oh, yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. All righty. Okay, first groups are going to meet from 7:30 to 8:15. Do what you can.
Okay. I'm sure she's like, which one?
Did you get the
How are you?
I'm ready.
Good.
I will. Good. Have a good copy. Thank you.
That's exactly what it's for. Do you want me to sit, would you like me to sit in on any committee? I am not, once again, I'm not on any committee.
Why don't you go with administration?
I'll go with administration.
You're going to go with administration. Hey, Jim,
Yes.
why don't you go sit in on administration?
Yes, ma'am, that sounds like a good idea.
Thank you.
Thank you for that help.
Glad I could do that.
Useful as well as ornamental.
I talked to Kathy, but he said he's on this group too, and she and I kind of brainstormed together. She came up with these as kind of starting point, SMART goals.
You know, I would recommend that you change your configuration just a bit. Maybe open this up so that someone can sit on the other side of the table. I find that subcommittees work better when they have a line of sight as opposed to talking down the line, like, you know, like at the head table at the wedding.
You're gonna have to look over the cordage.
There you go, just over the tape. That's good. Okay, remember, be cognizant of your time, 8:15. If you have any questions,
think in getting started was initially people digging down into the details to get started, but that is, once you've got started, that's what you have to do. So we did make a fair bit of progress, but it took a bit of time. We were spinning wheels for a while.
Okay. Did other groups experience the same thing? Okay.
We spent a lot of time on the first issue that we tackled,
Uh-huh.
and then we got as far as we could with that, and then realized as we were tackling the other ones, I think that learning process of going to the first one helped us expedite through the others.
Okay. Any best practices that anyone wants to share with one of the other subcommittees? Something that you believe that your subcommittee did really well that you want the other subcommittees to know about? Monica. Oh, pull the mic over.
I think the way we were trying to decide what we thought was obstructions to the goal and then working our way backward. Does that make sense?
The group that met in here realized that there was redundancy in their recommendations, and so they were able to combine some of the recommendations so that their work isn't quite as large as when they first began their conversation. Any other best practices any groups want to share?
I don't know if it's best practice, but just I'll just throw it out there. Two things. One, our group is holding every other group accountable to be bringing their A game, because some of the things we can't accomplish in our group alone, and we're trusting that the other things are being addressed by each individual group, and I would hope that you are holding us to that same level of high standards. Number two is I don't want us to make any assumptions. We have a new executive director coming in, and the tendency was for us to say, oh, well, the new executive director, I'm sure will have some thoughts on that. I want to go on record as saying we can't let that be an assumption. We, as this committee, need to put down what we think needs to get done, so it's there as a recommendation. And if the new executive director wants to change it or amend it or whatever, that's fine, but at least we have it documented in terms of we need this done by this date, whatever. So just to have no assumptions in any of this.
Yes, there's absolutely no harm in creating a roadmap for the new executive director. Herman.
We, as our committee, the Accountability and Curriculum and Assessment Committee, there's about 23 recommendations, and we probably can add more to that, but some of them overlap. We find that we're still talking a little bit philosophy and what we're wanting to, we're talking about some, changing culture. So if we come up with a goal that encompasses an area, say, that a general ed teacher is not usually participating in. We I think are stuck a little bit because there are teachers that don't know the difference between an IEP and a 504 plan. So, or there could be, GATE students. We also have students that have SST, so the student study team. So to have collaboration, we're thinking of having, initially we were thinking of having a goal that encompasses all of them, so that when we talk about 504 plan, it includes really any, it should include also a child that has an IEP, a child that has an SST, a child that has, really every child has special needs. But if you have an identification that requires extra supports, meaning modifications for material or access or, a behavior plan, these children require extra people. And so we, parents, this team was mostly parents. We believe that I think a lot of the parents, we believe that anytime you have a transition, that it requires collaboration. So the teachers that are going to be receiving the child have this information that they're going to need so they can be successful in the incoming year, and so everything can be in place. But easily, if we put on an administrator hat, easily we can create 5 goals instead of 1 goal. 1 goal for the 504 team, which we talked about, and then maybe duplicating the goal so that it's for the IEPs, and then duplicating the goal for the IEP kids, and then anyways, so we're having that sort of internal conflict in that we want it to be clear for everyone, and yet we want there to be a goal that helps change the culture. And really, the goal should be that the kids are everybody's kids. And we want the goal to be, there should be collaboration no matter what, no matter who you're, I mean, that's the beauty of public schools, is that any kid comes into the public school. That's the selling point of a public school. If you go to a private school, you pretty much have a sliver of the community there that is basically a sliver of the community. You don't have the diversity. And the beauty of a public school is that you have everything. You have everybody. And you're dealing with what you're going to deal with in life, in society. And so the way that everyone's collaborating, the aides and the teachers and the staff and the parent volunteers, and the way when all the training, everything that's in place, our goals, I believe, should be to include all those elements so that when we talk about a special ed kid, he's not much different. He has different needs, but he's just like all the other kids. And we're treating everybody, everybody the same. Everybody has value. And so anyways, I know we're going to have, we have a lot of goals to come up with, and it's going to be challenging, but it probably will, it definitely will require lots of training and ongoing training, because anyone new that comes into the district needs to fold right into what the culture of the district is and what the culture of the school is, and that's going to require ongoing training, not just one-time training where we just check it off. It's ongoing. And with that, I thank everybody for listening.
One quick thing, I did think of a best practice in terms of our subcommittee working. Our committee really benefited from having different stakeholders at the table. I think that every issue that we addressed was improved because it wasn't just one group or 2 groups speaking, but it was really informed by everybody. And so I would, as we move forward, to the extent that we can have those voices at that meeting, I think it benefits maybe waiting until those voices for those committees to meet.
Louise.
I think we all have to definitely think outside the box. We also have to have looming in our minds with all these goals that smart goals that we're coming up with, is the state of California's educational budget and the PUSD's budget. So as we're making these goals, maybe we have to do some, what if scenarios. What if the budget looks like this? What if the budget looks like that? I don't think we can break it down into, defined what ifs, but that has to be in the forefront of our minds when we're coming up with all of these recommendations that we're going to be making to the board, because we do know what our reality is. So that's just my suggestion.
Thank you. I want to encourage each subcommittee to be systematic about your approach. Try to contain your conversation to the topic that you're addressing at that time. Um, um, especially the group here where you have the opportunity to combine some, I'd like to see you actually make your list where they are combined so that you can, again, continue to have these systematic conversations and experience a sense of accomplishment. Yes, we have developed SMART objectives for these. Check them off and move on to the next. It doesn't mean that you aren't going to go back and revisit it, but if you're kind of bouncing all over the place, you don't really get that sense of accomplishment that we did this. We've done something good here tonight. We were productive tonight. So I want you really to remember to be systematic about that. Documents are available online if you want to reprint, if you want to restructure anything that I've done to make it a useful tool for your group. Absolutely, and by all means do so. Just leave the master there in place and give it some different name. Perhaps add your subcommittee's name to it or something. But it's just most important. All those documents were put there to be tools for you. They were not there just, because I didn't have a place to store them. I want you to use those documents as tools to help you to move through this process. So tonight we had 3 subcommittees that met. We have professional development that has not, every student, every school that has not, and compliance and monitoring that has not. We are not scheduled to meet again until next Wednesday. So, in the interim, you've had some experience with the SMART objectives tonight. Everyone received a template tonight. I need to hear, you can send me email and let me know who is going to be the lead for your subcommittee. If you have not met already, then I want you all to, email the folks that are within your group, make a determination who's going to be the lead for the subcommittees that have not met, and actually start getting some work done online, drafting some SMART objectives and sharing them with the people in your subcommittee.
Do we know who the leaders are from the ones who did meet?
No, I only know of one. And that's why I'm saying, and bless you, in the event that that determination was not made in your subcommittee tonight, which I did let everyone know that I would need to know who those leads are, I need you to let me know as quickly as possible, okay? So, because that way I'm going to one person if I have a question about a document. So I know that some of the SMART objectives were developed. I also know that some people said that they wanted to just keep them on a blank sheet of paper for now, rework them, and then they would put them on the template. I need you to get them onto the templates for your subcommittee as soon as you can, so that, again, other groups have an opportunity to see what you've done so far. Okay? So, again, there's going to be a lot of work that's done outside of this room. You draft those SMART objectives, share them with one another, get them on the document, and we go from there. Right? So next week, Wednesday, and I'll try to communicate with you all between now and then just to see what progress is being made. Please, please, please let me know who the subcommittee lead is so that I don't want to send an email to everybody to ask a specific question. Okay, any questions? All right, again, use these templates if you have any question about, am I actually drafting a SMART objective?
Have a good night.
Yes.
Oops. Okay, I guess we're adjourned. So have a good night, everybody. Thanks. We ran a little late there.
Real quick though, this is what came into my mind while we were talking. I was thinking that we can sort of show for areas that we're keeping in our various groups, how they intertwine or support each other, blah, blah, blah. That just popped in my mind. For instance, with our group, transition and extended school year, there's some overlap in those two particular SMART objectives that we'll be writing. So I was just saying, while we're thinking about this whole process, we could think about how things are interconnected in the different objectives we had and maybe identify that, so.
Sure. Well, just as with the group here, where they're going to have some that are connected or kind of collapse. Let's say recommendation 2.1 and recommendation 3.3. On the recommendation, just put 2.1/3.3.